Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. First off, want to say thanks to those of you that stuck around for yesterday's option session. The mic was being a pain. However, we did have a very busy night talking about all sorts of different things, as usual. And I think one of the things that I've tried to make like more of an emphasis on lately, and this was something we talked about the previous time we got together in January, was this idea about like make or break setups on, sometimes it was the indices. In this case, we're going to talk through like the TLT. But what's nice about these trade or like these ideas is that they're they're at the point where you're just expecting movement, right? It's not necessarily being right on the direction. It's about finding a setup where you're more confident that movement is coming. And then what we look at is volatility strategy. So straddles or strangles, right? Some sort of option strategy to capitalize on a big move, right? So it's picking the point on a chart where you're more confident that movement is coming, not necessarily picking which direction that movement's going to be in. Like, so not necessarily saying it's going to bounce, not necessarily it's going to break down. It's more like, okay, this is the make or break point of this chart. Something has to give. Either it's going to break down or it's going to break out. And in either scenario, it could be due for a big move, right? So one of the things we were talking about last night was the TLT. All right, so let me go to a little bit longer term. So this is the daily chart, right? You look at the daily chart, you're like, nothing special, right? I mean, it's obviously weak. It's gotten hit. It's definitely not at the low from 2021, but it is working its way down there, right? So now, if I go to a weekly chart, you can see a little bit more interesting. So it's formed what you might consider a head and shoulders pattern, right? And when I remove the bottom of the shoulder, you can see even more interestingly is that it's just a little bit below this 200 week moving average, which is the orange line. So that 200 week was significant several times and for a long stretch in 2021. And each time it held, it put together a really nice bounce off of it, right? Which you can see here and here. Now, this week is big because we have the CPI reading, right? And this is going to be really closely watched from traders. It's also going to be closely watched from the Fed officials because it could set the tone going into March and what many consider to be a live meeting, right? So, I mean, a lot of people are expecting volatility for the indices this week, but obviously, I mean, the CPI and the Fed and all that also could lead to volatility on TLT, right? So like on rates, on bonds, etc. And that combined with like TLT basically sitting at this really critical long-term support level, to me it's saying something has to give, right? Either if it breaks this really critical support level, then it probably has a path to retest the January 20 or the 2021 low. If it bounces, well, we've seen what bounces are. Their bounces are typically pretty solid and substantial, and they last for a couple weeks in a row, right? So going into this week, it was something on our radar. It was something we were talking through. You know, we were laying out the kind of like the expectations for, you know, how much point wise, what's the time frame, etc. Right? And this is like kind of the things that you know we're screening for it, right? It's not necessarily about being read in direction, which, you know, it's great if you pick the right direction and it goes in that direction. That's wonderful. But sometimes what we prefer to do is not pick the direction, but pick a pattern where we're more confident movement's coming. And TLT, I thought, like heading into the week with the CPI later this week, is one of the more interesting setups. All right. So take a look. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video and you're looking for more information about trading these volatility strategies, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options to play. Have a great night. Stay well, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow.